Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Design Lab. I am Kat Kruger. My pronouns are she, her. And today we're going to be designing a monster. So, Game Design Lab started just a few weeks ago based on interactions that I've had while doing my solo journal RPG on Mondays. So I've been streaming a lot of solo journal RPGs. Hi, Socialist. Hi. Thanks for joining. And in doing like the sort of back and forth with chat, sometimes I get asked for ideas to develop either part of the world that I'm in or monsters or NPCs, and been having a lot of fun with that back and forth. And I thought it'd be really fun to actually just like specifically do a game design lab to um, sort of as a creative exercise, maybe a little bit of a learning exercise. Um, I um, I am a uh, freelance narrative game designer, and I'm just going to show a few things that I've worked on specifically for monsters. I worked most recently on Flea Mortals and the accompanying Where Evil Lives book, and I designed a bunch of monsters for this one. I was responsible for the hobgoblins, and I'm just going to show some pages here. Um, so it's a reimagining of hobgoblins, and with these ones, the direction I was given by James Introcaso, who's the lead editor, is to make them infernal. Um, so just looking at the art, like you can see, they're very these group of hobgoblins are very war driven. Um, yeah, I like the art is incredible, but like the just the whole process of working with MCDM is fantastic. So yeah, we've got like war mages, incendiaris. I love these little guys here, little grilps. They're just cute little guys. And they're all led by Bloodlord Varix, and this piece of art is incredible. So yeah, they've got like a lot of war magic and infernal dealings. I also have worked recently. I love working again with Hit Point Press, and this is so you saw a lot of skulls in the hobgoblins there, and I guess I was on a skull kick because these were two projects I worked on very close together, but very different because I made essentially. So this is agar, and as you can see, it is basically a gummy bear. This gummy bear has a, if you look real close there, there's an amber skull inside this bear, um, and it's basically a bear that was sort of cursed, like a real bear, cursed, and then turned into a gelatinous bear. Um, this was really fun to develop here. Um, just sort of and the art is very different, but also and these baobabs here, they're like they're made of kelp basically, and they can form into whatever creature they want. And so what they've done is they've taken on this form of like these little bear cubs, because Agar is now their protector. Um, and here we go, some more art here. And yeah, so the going through the process of creating monsters. Here's an adventurer who has not had very much luck with you know encountering agar here. I think one of the things that I'm starting off this process today with is talking about what the whole process of actually coming up with a monster is, and crucially, it's not getting into the stat blocks right away. It's developing the core concepts of what the monster is, what you know what you think their abilities are, what their environment is. And so based on what we've already developed here in Game Design Lab, what we've been doing is we've sort of been building a world from scratch. We started off with just an NPC um, as voted for in chat, essentially. But because that NPC had so much personality, and we did so much in that 1 hour, we've been further developing the world in which Dahlia Stonefell lives in. So Dahlia is a goblin NPC, artificer's apprentice, and she lives in a big city. She has a sister who's fallen ill. She works for an artificer who she's realizing is maybe the bad guy. Um, this artificer, Kieran Lovegood, has been dumping like magical reagents into a cave. And in this cave, which he has uh, named the trash pit, just, you know, the cave didn't have a name, and he just refers to it in his mind as the trash pit. Um, in the trash pit, there are Cryptimanders, which were named last week. So they are essentially um, salamanders that have camouflage ability. So they're, sort of part salamander, part chameleon, tiny little creatures that live in this cave. And as a result of the ecological damage that the magical reagents, have had in this cave, specifically, there have been magical mushrooms that have grown here. That has a cascading effect because um, Dahlia's sister, Dandelion, has gone into the cave, found mushrooms that have grown from um, uh, the reagents, consumed them, and is now very ill. But the effect was like slow release. And in addition to that, we also have these cryptomanders who have been consuming the insects that have been consuming the mushrooms, and that it has had an effect as well. So we are going to be talking, conceptually today about these cryptomanders and what their evolution um, as like a monster. Um, you know, I guess like in TTRPG, but specifically D&D terms, like like a monster could be just a centipede or a salamander, but we're talking in terms of like a creature that you would maybe face off against, or a swarm of creatures that you would face off against. So um, I would like to, if there's interest, what I'm thinking of doing is maybe um, developing the backstory and concept of the Cryptimander and whatever its evolution is in this stream. And then in the following week, again, if there's interest, I can go through the process of actually developing a monster stat block for specifically D&D 5e, which is, I guess like my area of expertise right now. Um, so yeah, if we want to do that, we can do that next week, but I want to focus on developing the actual backstory today. So I'm going to move over into my journal here, connect here, and get a look at my screen here. So first, we've already named the monster. Well, the pre-evolved, pre-mutated monster is uh, Cryptimander. And we do have a like a little bit of information based on last week's game design lab. I think I'm going to move some of that over here. So the apps that I'm using here on my iPad is called GoodNotes, is really handy because I can show what I'm doing on screen here, but I can also just sort of like cut and paste and move things around. Copy that, post it over here, paste it over here, and add the rest of this here too. All right. Um, so what we have from the base creature here is that size is tiny. Um, some of this I'm sort of using some D&D terms. So, you know, tiny is like this is specifically a size grouping. Um, uh, Habitat, dark caves, diet, insects and bugs. And then we got into some of the abilities. And let me just move this down to the bottom here. See, that did not work. All right, I guess it's stuck there. I will move this. I will just put a little asterisk here then. All right, so some of its abilities are limb regeneration. It can climb walls and it's got camouflage. Put a little note here that it ate the insects that ate mushrooms. I think we could just probably delete that part here because we're going to get into that when we get to the lore. All right, so this is like the basis for whatever the evolved version of the creature is. So we have to go back and sort of figure out what these mushrooms are doing, because it's all tied into this world, and we're creating a lot for this world. Um, Whatever the mushrooms are doing to these cryptomanders are probably going to be affecting Dahlia's sister, who has also eaten these mushrooms. And I think we've established that she is, because she is a larger creature with a different nervous system, the process for change is taking longer versus these tiny creatures with their, um, nervous systems, and things go through them faster. So whatever is happening to Dolly's sister Dandelion um, will probably have, there's going to be some reflection of that in what's happened to these cryptomanders. Um, so yeah, we need to figure out some of these, answer some questions here, and figure out what these mushrooms could potentially be doing to the cryptomanders to make them more ferocious. And when we did develop some of their abilities last week, it's a good. I think it was a good call out to say um, limb regeneration, climbing walls, camouflage. That's great for a prey creature. Fantastic for a prey creature to avoid being consumed or by a predator. However, if these abilities transferred to uh, a predator, that becomes a problem for adventurers, I think. And I think it makes for a very cool monster to fight against. So yeah, what do we want to do with the mushrooms here? I'm gonna put mushrooms here as another note to look at. I do not think that they would have any sort of immediate negative um, property, because I think, well, they could have a negative property like a toxin or something. But I think these mushrooms sort of like flew under the radar of Dandelion because I think she was able to establish that they weren't poisonous. And weeks later, she's developed these symptoms. Um, and the symptoms are some sort of evolution um, that is also going to affect the cryptomanders. So um, I think to make these creatures a little bit more formidable, um, could we could say that there's some growth involved. Um, we could look at. Hello, Jane. Happy Wednesday to you as well. We're just diving into monster creation here. As I said earlier, I'm looking at making a cryptimander. I don't know if you caught the video last week. I know you weren't able to make it, but the in in last week's stream we developed a cryptimander, which is basically a salamander that's kind of like a chameleon too. Um, and this is the thing that lives in the trash pit. But it has evolved, and we're trying to figure out. Um, so it's been eating the insects and bugs that have been eating the mushrooms here, and these mushrooms are the same mushrooms that Dahlia's sister Dandelion has eaten and has caused her to be quite ill. What Dahlia and Dandelion don't know is that there's sort of like a slow release process here because of her. She's a bigger creature than the salamanders, so whatever we do with the mushroom um, effects to the cryptomanders are ultimately going to also affect dandelion. So one of the things I put here is growth. I'm thinking, because mushrooms, one of the things that mushrooms often have are, the spores, right? So maybe there's some sort of spore effect. Um, Mushrooms like dark, damp places. So maybe there is a light sensitivity. The light sensitivity is good because that gives a weakness to whatever this creature is too. Um, it's always nice to sort of have a little bit of a balance because this creature, with its limb regeneration and ability to climb walls and camouflage, could be quite formidable in combat. Um, yeah, what else? What else do we think about mushrooms and what these reagents could be doing to the mushrooms to cause some sort of effect when eaten? I'm just gonna I'm just gonna take a quick look at mushrooms here, um, and can I Google for mushrooms? Effects of well, some mushrooms give you a sense of euphoria and well-being. And you know, maybe that's why the mushrooms, why Dandelion enjoyed the mushrooms so much. It's not necessarily um, an effect that the monster will have, but the mushrooms themselves, I think, it's a good note to maybe put sense of euphoria here. Or maybe, you know, like the spores that come off of um, creatures that have been mutated by this, they cause euphoria, and it gives adventurers sort of a sense of vulnerability to fire. Yeah, that's a good one too. This sense of, and hello, the A is short. Mike, nice to see you in chat. I think this sense of euphoria tied with the spores um, could potentially like give this false sense of security as you're entering a cave, and then you get, you know, ambushed by whatever this creature is. Um, Jane, high, yeah, a real high, and then there's a big low there. That would be good too, with that. Yeah, they, yeah, this this monster is going to be quite something, I think. uh, just going to add here the vulnerable to fire. See. All right, so just catching everyone up again. We're developing a Cryptimander that is a salamander chameleon type creature that lives in the trash pit. It is a cave where our villain has been dumping um, reagents. Our villain is an artificer, and so yeah, we've now developed, you know, what these mushrooms could potentially cause, and then we've also developed what the base Cryptimander is. So it's a tiny little salamander creature type thing. But now we need to talk about, you know, what these two things mashed together are going to create here. So don't need to necessarily come up with a name right away. It could just be simply like evolved Cryptomander or mutated Cryptomander or something like that until, you know, such time that we come up with a better name, or maybe that is the name. Um, um, I am going to add a new page here. Um, and then I will put, I don't know what we're going to call the placeholder name here. I feel like some sort of mushroom. Maybe we name the mushroom so that we can also name the Cryptomander. Um, gonna go look in a thesaurus to look for other words that are similar to euphoria. Elation, exhilaration, frenzy, glee, joy, jubilation, bliss, like jubilation maybe, jubilee mushrooms. that's a good one, Mike. Yeah, the salamander. There's absolutely no Charmander here. Uh, my son would be so disappointed in my game design, in my monster design. um, I'm thinking Jubilee mushroom. Oh, Joan 25, first time chat, and you come in here with a fantastic uh, um, suggestion here. Jubilee spelled like that, so it's jubilation and fungi. I love it. Jubilee mushrooms. I'm gonna just add that here. Jubilee. Thank you for that. All right. That's awesome. All right, so we've got Jubilee for the mushroom name, and I think maybe we just call these, let's go with Jubilee um, Cryptimanders. Now, because our base creature here, the size is tiny. However, we put in the possibility that they could cause growth. Um, I think there's like a couple options for developing this monster. Like they can either stay tiny. Um, it means very likely that um, their damage is probably going to be a little bit on the lower side. Um, Too delightful. Yes, welcome to the pun zone. We've got a lot of punny people in here, myself included, so welcome. Um, so, we could have a size tiny Jubilee Cryptimander. Um, they could swarm, which would be, I can imagine how terrifying and terrible that would be. Um, Or we can make the Jubilee Cryptomander slightly bigger and make it like maybe a size small creature. What are we thinking, chat? Do we want the swarm capability for these, or do we want like individual ones that are just slightly bigger? Um, and as I said earlier in the stream and on social media, if people are interested, um, we can we can look at developing D&D 5e stat block for this in the following week. Um, just noticing that I must have put a category in here that is mature rated, and this is definitely not mature rated. So I'm going to change that for next week. Um, swarming, swarming is a very fun guy thing. They tend to be in groups. That's true. All right. I like that line of thought there. So we're going to do size tiny. Um, and then we'll repeat the abilities here. Oopsie. So we have limb regeneration, climb walls, and camo. We're also going to add euphoric spores, swarm, um, all right. Now, what are the other things that this Jubilee Cryptomander can do? if we're looking again at, we need to look at, how they actually fight. Um, I'm gonna pull up monsters from D&D Beyond here. I think there's actually salamanders in D&D Beyond. And when it comes to game design lab, I try to just focus on like general TTRPGs. So when I do post on my Patreon with the final design, it's usually just the lore that you can and facts that you can drop into your game. But when it comes to monster design, I think there's like some interest in actually creating um, stat blocks. And because I am mostly a designer for 5e, I that's where I gravitate towards. So I'm looking at in D&D there is a salamander that is a large elemental, so it is different than what we're looking at here. But I'm just taking a look at to see what sort of inspiration we can get here. Gosh, these have spear and tail attacks. There's also a frost salamander. All right, the frost salamander is a huge elemental, and it has more salamander-esque attacks here. It's got multi-attack, bite, claws. Do salamanders have claws? Really? Maybe this is just a fantasy thing. I'm gonna look at what a real salamander. Oh gosh, they're so cute. All right, so I'm gonna take a look at the salamander entry here. Lizard-like appearance with slender bodies, blunt noses, short limbs, tails, and just trying to find some inspiration here for you know what kind of attack they could have here. Oh, they're also amphibious, right? Senses. Oh, oh, they have a heightened sense of smell too. Oh, this is really cool. To find their prey, salamanders use trichromatic color vision, and that just reminds me of what is it, Predator? Oh, I love all these suggestions here. A larger one might be able to poison targets versus spores of the base variety. Tail whip that releases spores. Yeah. Are they so small they could pierce skin and invade the body? Oh my gosh. Very alien-esque here. I'm gonna add, I'm definitely gonna add uh, the spores. What we have right now for the spores is that they actually release a euphoric status effect because we're thinking that um, it can cause adventurers or anyone traveling into their vicinity um, to have this false sense of security before they get attacked. So I mean, I guess that's a negative status effect. um, Gosh, heightened sense of smell, I think I'm gonna put in here. And I am gonna make a note for that trichromatic, yeah, like allure, trichromatic, I call it here. Color vision. To hunt for prey. And we're also looking at a possible like tail whip. Actually, I'm gonna put that last bit under attacks. So we've got a tail whip that could potentially do other sorts of damage. Let's look back at our mushrooms here. Yeah, maybe the tail whip could do something with spores. Like maybe the spores, I mean, yeah, the tail whip could either release a damaging spore or, you know, maybe it has like a layered effect of, you know, adding more of that um, euphoric like mist or whatever, like the um, that element into the air. Um, what else can we add here for attacks? I think multi-attack is probably something here that we want because they're. I'm gonna say that they're fast creatures. So high dexterity. Probably have dark vision too. What else can we do here for attacks? I'm taking a look at some more salamander facts. Let's see. To find their prey, they use that vision. Oh right, I was also going to write amphibious here. Let's move some of this down here. Well, it looks like Salamanders in the real world are opportunistic predators. They do have a small set of teeth. I did not know this. In both their upper and lower jaws, so they probably have a bite attack. Duplication to create the swarm. Oh yeah. I'm looking at a swarm of tiny and then individual larger ones with differences between the two. Like swarm of spiders versus giant spider. Oh yeah, I think we're just working on individual one, and then the swarm would be a group of them. I don't know if we're going to make necessarily a larger one per se though. But yeah, like a swarm of spiders versus just a regular spider. Yeah. Um, I am going to add a bite attack here. All right. What else do we need to look at here? Duplication, like the regeneration, works for both the missing limb, but also generates a new body. Oh yeah. Yeah. Joan and Socialist. I think you're really onto something there. It's sort of like is it like a pudding in D&D that does stuff like that? Just gonna take a quick look here. Split, yeah. So I'm just looking at D&D Beyond here. A black pudding has a reaction um, that is called split. When a pudding that is medium or larger is subjected to lightning or slashing damage, it splits into two new puddings. If it has at least 10 hit points, each new pudding has hit points equal to half the original puddings rounded down. New puddings are one size smaller than the original pudding. All right, so if we're gonna do this, I think what we do then is the size will be small, and then the um, the split salamander or cryptimanders are size tiny then. Yeah. Yeah, it's fantasy and I love this. So I'm just gonna go back here, revise this, size small, yeah, small. And then we have gonna put this under reaction. Split and a note C black pudding. Yeah, and I guess part of part of game design lab is yeah, sort of like throwing things out and seeing what works and what sticks and you know if we were actually developing this into stat blocks and things, we would actually try to play test it in somewhere to make sure it's not OP because this is definitely I feel like this is actually a high challenge rating of a creature. Well, getting higher anyway. Um, so we've got this reaction. We could also look at maybe what other abilities what, um, like its core abilities are. It's going to be um, other notes here. Probably low intelligence. Yeah, this is essentially can keep size on the split if there was waste, soil, etc. Oh my gosh, yeah. Um, yeah, we'd also have to figure out, what is, I guess it would be slashing damage that causes it. Um, so I'll make a note there. All right, so my other notes here are just going to be like its base stats essentially. Damage with fire. Oh, that's a good one. I like that. My just keep moving this down. Fire can prevent ability to grow. And then my other notes are, again, I think it's low intelligence because it is essentially a salamander. Yeah, Jump. I like that. Ability to split. Low intelligence. Definitely low charisma. Probably low wisdom. I'm just gonna move this all up together. Low intelligence, charisma, wisdom. I think its highest ability is probably dexterity, because I'm thinking, its ability to hide and be stealthy, in order to capture its prey is probably a big thing here. Take a look at some swarms here. I'm going to add swarm here, because I think as a swarm it probably has better chances of overcoming some of its vulnerabilities, because it's so, as individuals they could probably be crushed, but as a swarm that would be pretty dangerous. Higher constitution and strength. Just some thoughts as we're developing this. Very true. You'd be much better off attacking it with a torch than a fancy greatsword. A very tough lesson to learn indeed. Or I guess if you had one of those a spell that had like a flaming sword type of spell, that would also be very good. High dex and AC. Yeah, you're right. Um, this is quite a creature here. So I I think essentially we've got like a really good base creature here, enough to probably write up a little bit um, of lore and you know, background information on, which I will do on my Patreon. Um, and again, I'll just put the information there. Um, yeah, I post the final designs in Patreon, and we're gonna have a Jubilee Cryptimander there. Um, and I will write some information about maybe the mushrooms as well, and the base Cryptomander. This might be a longer, this feels like it's going to be a longer post. And then, how do we feel about next week designing like an actual stat block for D&D 5e? Is that of interest to people in chat? Because if it is, I'm very happy to do it. Again, it's something that you know, I work on as a freelance game designer. Happy to share the process for that. But if it's not of interest, I'm okay with that too. And we can just move on and do some other game design for this world. We've got tons of NPCs and locations. I got a vote here from Social Spy. Yes. Um, yeah, if you want to weigh in, I'm happy to do that. And I'm also going to yeah, I'll post what I've got for this so that you know you could just drop this into any game I think, without the monster stat block anyway. But if we want to go through the exercise of creating something, I've got some good online tools that could help uh, anybody who's new to monster design. I think it's very helpful to um, there's a bunch of resources online that sort of help you with the numbers. Um, and I could show that, and you know, um, what you can do with, you know, taking inspiration from officially licensed official D&D creatures. You know, you can take inspiration from there. You can find the wording, or reskin um, 5e creatures. But I think I will probably do a stat block next week. And yeah, I really appreciate everyone for all of your input here. I think we've created something really cool, um, that could be dropped into a variety of games. Um, sorry, I'm losing my voice now. So as I said, I will not be streaming on Friday. I do just a crafting, just chatting sort of stream on Fridays, but I won't be doing that for this Friday or next Friday, due to childcare. Um, but I will be streaming on Monday, solo RPG, and then Wednesday again, at the same time for this. Um, Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I will see many of you online or on Discord. And next week we'll come back and revisit the Jubilee Cryptomander and create a monster stat block for it. All right. Well, thank you very much for anyone in the United States. Enjoy your holiday um, tomorrow if you have the day off. I hope you do. Yeah, I'll see you next week. And thanks for all the new chatters too. All right, take care, everyone.